My own child said her stepdad isn't a loser like me, humiliating me in front of everyone, so I immediately planned my revenge by taking back all the gifts and removing them from my will. I'm a 49-year-old divorced dad working as an electrical engineer, and I've been trying my best to navigate the complexities of modern parenting. Recently, my 18-year-old son Tyler massively disrespected me in a way that I never saw coming. This happened right after I had treated him to an expensive dinner and spent 4 years building him a classic 1969 Camaro as a college graduation gift. The kid told me he wanted a Tesla instead, and that the Camaro would embarrass him at college. Then he started comparing me unfavorably to his stepfather, which forced me to give him a reality check. I wasn't about to raise a spoiled little shit, so here's exactly what went down. 3 years ago, my ex-wife Linda decided that I wasn't cutting it financially anymore. She told me point blank that I lacked vision and ambition in life. We ended up with joint custody of Tyler, who's now 18 years old. Apparently, the kid thinks he's living in some kind of rap video these days. Linda bounced back from our divorce incredibly fast. She married this crypto entrepreneur named Derek about 18 months later. This guy is 38 years old, drives a leased Tesla Model X, and has the audacity to wear 250 hoodies to parent-teacher conferences. He walks around acting like he's some Silicon Valley hotshot who's revolutionizing the world. I make decent money as a senior electrical engineer, and I own my house completely free and clear. I bought it after the 2010 market crash when everyone was panicking and my retirement fund could cover expenses for 2 lifetimes. What Tyler doesn't understand are all the sacrifices I made after the divorce to provide for him. I could have easily gotten myself a sweet bachelor pad downtown and lived the single life. Instead, I bought a house in the best school district I could afford, which meant adding 2 hours to my daily commute and eating instant noodles while stretching every mortgage payment. The overtime hours I worked to pay for Tyler's activities would absolutely blow your mind. Travel hockey when he was 15 cost $4,000 just for registration, plus another $2,500 for gear, hotels, and gas money driving all over California every single weekend. I picked up consulting work on the side and even missed my own brother's wedding just to cover those expenses. Linda acted like this was just standard dad duty, as if I somehow owed it to them or something. Here's what still makes my blood boil to this day. I sold my pristine 1971 Mustang Boss 302 to pay for Tyler's emergency surgery when Linda's insurance company decided to play games with the claim. That car was worth $42,000 and represented my dream project that I'd been working on for years. I could have fought the insurance company for months while my kids suffered, or I could handle it myself like a real father should. It was an easy choice, but I miss that Mustang every single day. After losing the Mustang, I started restoring a 1969 Camaro SS that I found rusting away in some farmer's barn. I'm about $18,000 and 4 years deep into this project now, and it's becoming something absolutely beautiful. My older brother Rick and I co-own the garage where we do all our restoration work. We've been business partners since we bought the place 6 years ago. Rick is the type of guy who calls it exactly like he sees it. No filter whatsoever. He's been watching this whole drama unfold with Tyler, and his commentary has been both brutal and accurate. The garage itself has become our sanctuary over the years. It's 500 square feet of what most people would call organized chaos, but we know exactly where everything belongs. We've got a full machine shop in the back with a Bridgeport mill and South Bend lathe that can fabricate anything you need. Tyler used to absolutely love helping out when he was younger. The kid could identify different engine sounds by ear when he was only 13 years old. By the time he turned 15, he knew torque specifications for common bolts by heart. We'd spend entire Saturdays in the garage together, working side by side on various projects. He'd brag to his friends about building a real muscle car with his old man, and those were some of the best times we ever had together. The Camaro was supposed to be Tyler's college graduation present, something we built together from a rust bucket into an absolute showpiece. By the time he turned 16, Tyler could rebuild a Rochester Quadrajet carburetor with his eyes closed. He understood gear ratios and final drive calculations perfectly, and he knew exactly why you run different viscosity oil in summer versus winter. We were planning to swap in a rebuilt 427 big block engine, and we'd been collecting parts for over 3 years in preparation. Those were genuinely good times between us. Before Linda started her manipulation campaign that would change everything, Rick noticed the change in Tyler's attitude before I did. The kid started showing up to the garage talking about Tesla's supposedly superior engineering and asking why we bothered working with what he called outdated technology. One day, Rick pulled me aside and warned, "Your boy's been drinking some expensive Kool-Aid lately." Tyler used to get genuinely excited about something as simple as a clean valve cover, but now he was constantly asking why we didn't just buy electric vehicles instead. The change was subtle at first. Tyler would still help out with projects and seem engaged, but he'd make pointed comments about how electric motors were more efficient than internal combustion engines. He started calling our work basically 1800s technology, with this condescending tone that definitely wasn't coming from him originally. Around this same time, Tyler started wearing designer streetwear to the garage instead of his usual work clothes. He was suddenly afraid to get dirt on his expensive t-shirts and seemed more concerned with his appearance than actually learning or working. The kid who used to dive under a car without hesitation was now worried about scuffing his $200 sneakers on the concrete floor. Linda started her campaign against me very subtly at first. The woman has a PhD in passive-aggressive manipulation, and she knew exactly how to plant seeds of doubt. She'd make little comments during pickup that were designed to cut deep while sounding completely innocent to any outside observer. She'd tell Tyler things like, "Make sure you shower when you get to Derek's house. You smell like motor oil." Then she'd add with a sweet smile, "Well, you know, it's just so nice that Tyler finally has a proper male role model, someone who actually achieves things in life." She'd continue with gems like, "Derek was explaining how successful men think differently. It's fascinating psychology behind it all." She was absolutely glowing every time she delivered these calculated shots, because she'd gotten her upgrade and wanted everyone to know it. Linda went into full social media warrior mode during this period. She was posting Instagram stories daily showcasing expensive dinners and weekend trips to Vegas and Reno. Her captions were masterpieces of passive aggression. "Finally living my best life, and grateful for a partner who understands success." She was broadcasting to our entire social circle that she'd successfully traded up from her boring engineer ex-husband. Rick took one look at her social media page and muttered, "She's out here hashtagging success like it's a personality trait. I bet she thinks Instagram filters can cover up debt." He wasn't wrong about that assessment. The whole thing reeked of desperation disguised as confidence. Tyler started returning home different after spending time with Derek and Linda. The change was gradual, like rust spreading through metal, but it was unmistakable once you knew what to look for. He'd come back with new talking points that were clearly not his own thoughts. "Derek's car drives itself, Dad," he'd say with this newfound authority. "Your Camaro doesn't even have backup cameras." Then came the real kickers. "Derek says electrical engineering is getting automated soon. AI is going to replace most of that stuff." The kid would also brag about their expensive outings. "Derek took us to this steakhouse where they dry-age beef for 90 days. He said successful people don't stress about money when they're taking care of family." Linda would smirk during these exchanges, clearly enjoying watching her programming take effect on my son. She was turning my kid into a messenger for her bullshit, and it was working perfectly. Tyler would casually drop information about Derek's supposed portfolio performance, his multiple revenue streams, and his investment strategies. The kid was parroting crypto bro talking points without understanding any of the actual substance behind them. As Rick observed one day, "Derek talks like he read half a Gary Vee quote and passed out from self-confidence." When Tyler first compared me directly to Derek, I shut it down immediately. "Tyler, Derek's not your father. I am," I told him firmly. "You can respect what he does without disrespecting me. Is that clear enough for you?" He backed off temporarily, but Linda kept working her angles behind the scenes. She knew exactly what I'd sacrificed for our family over the years, but she was systematically rewriting history to make me look like a loser compared to her crypto prince charming. At Tyler's hockey games, Linda would make comments that were loud enough for other parents to hear. She'd say things about how some fathers prioritize their hobbies over providing for their children, obviously referring to my garage work. The manipulation became more targeted and calculated as time went on. She started scheduling Tyler's time specifically to minimize our garage sessions together. Suddenly, he had study groups every Saturday, or Derek was taking him to networking events where successful men shared business insights with younger generations. When Tyler hit 17 last year, Linda orchestrated this whole production around getting him a car. She brought it up at his birthday dinner, which I was paying for, obviously. "Tyler, Derek and I have been discussing transportation for your senior year," she announced with theatrical timing. "We're thinking something reliable and appropriate for college. Maybe a BMW 3 Series or Audi A4, something that makes the right impression with professors and peers." Tyler's face lit up like Christmas morning while Linda watched my reaction carefully. She knew damn well I couldn't afford to buy luxury cars for a teenager, and she was setting me up to look cheap in front of my own son. I offered Tyler the Camaro once our restoration was finished. The kid's face dropped like I'd offered him a horse and buggy for transportation. Linda actually laughed out loud at my suggestion. "Tyler needs something that won't embarrass him at college," she said with casual cruelty. The disrespect was so comfortable and natural for her. She was treating me like Tyler's broke uncle instead of his father. Tyler just sat there nodding along with everything she said, completely bought into their narrative. I gave Tyler his options clearly. "You've got two choices here. Drive the classic muscle car that your father restored with love, or save up for your own ride like every other kid your age." Linda jumped in immediately, of course. "That hardly seems fair to Tyler. He shouldn't have to choose between no transportation and a project car that might not be reliable." Tyler chose option 3, crying to Mama about his unreasonable father who didn't understand modern needs. The kid who used to understand that reliability comes from proper maintenance and quality work was now worried about being seen in anything that wasn't badge-engineered status. Linda called me that night, trying her manipulation tactics again. "I understand your budget constraints," she said with fake sympathy. "But Tyler's social development matters for his future." Derek offered to help because he genuinely cares about Tyler's college prospects. I told her that Tyler would be lucky to drive that Camaro, and if she wanted him in something newer, she could write the check herself. Her response was pure venom. That's exactly the limited thinking that held our marriage back. Thank God Tyler has Derek to show him what actual success looks like in life. She had Tyler convinced that driving a classic muscle car would somehow damage his social standing, when most car enthusiasts would kill for a numbers-matching 69 SS. 2 weeks later, Tyler called me with what he thought was amazing news. Derek would co-sign for a used BMW if I handled the monthly payments. When I said absolutely not, Tyler got that bratty teenager attitude that I recognized as pure Linda. "Why can't you be more like Derek?" he demanded. "He gets what young people need in today's world. Mom says you're just bitter because Derek makes more money than you ever will." That was the wrong fucking thing to say to me. I sat Tyler down for an economics education, but not before Rick overheard the conversation from the garage office. He came out wiping his hands on a shop rag, shaking his head with that look he gets when someone's about to get schooled. "Co-signing for a spoiled kid's BMW? That's some next-level stupidity right there," Rick said, looking directly at Tyler. "Your stepdad's about to learn what happens when crypto bros meet reality." Then he turned his attention fully to my son. "Kid, you want a car? Earn it like everyone else. Your dad's offering you a genuine classic that'll be worth twice what any BMW depreciates to." Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Rick had this way of cutting through bullshit that made people squirm, and he wasn't done with his lesson yet. He pulled out his phone and showed Tyler completed listings on Bring a Trailer. "Look here, smartass. This 69 Camaro SS sold for $48,000 last month. Your precious BMW 3 Series, 6 years old with 70,000 miles, is worth maybe $20,000 and dropping in value fast every single day." Tyler tried arguing that Derek was building generational wealth through cryptocurrency investments. I asked him if Derek had actually shown him portfolio statements, or if he was just repeating sales pitches he'd heard. Tyler went quiet real fast after that question. Rick just shook his head and went back to work, muttering about kids who couldn't tell the difference between assets and liabilities. If Derek had a dime for every buzzword he dropped, he still couldn't cover a tire rotation, Rick added while reaching for a wrench. I decided it was time for Tyler to get a reality check about actual finances. "Son, Derek's 38 years old and rents a room from his buddy. I'm 49 and own my house free and clear. Zero debt except utilities and property taxes. Derek talks about crypto gains while I've got actual money earning actual interest in actual banks. You think flashy spending equals wealth, but you need to learn the difference between looking rich and being rich." The lecture wasn't sinking in at all. Tyler was too deep in Linda and Derek's programming to see reality for what it was. The breaking point came at this fancy steakhouse, the kind of place that charges $75 for beef and $20 for side dishes. Tyler had been mostly respectful through dinner, but something shifted around dessert time. He started getting this attitude and making little comments about the restaurant being actually nice for once. Then he launched into this speech about Derek planning a spring break trip to Hawaii for their family unit, as he called it. I asked who exactly was covering this Hawaiian vacation. Tyler got defensive, like I was being unreasonable for asking about finances. Derek's handling it as an investment in family experiences. Unlike some people who think Olive Garden is fine dining, he said, with pure Linda venom in his voice. The Olive Garden comment was definitely Linda speaking through him. That was her exact phrasing and tone. I put my fork down and stared at him. "Excuse me, what did you just say?" Tyler doubled down, his voice getting louder and more aggressive. Other tables started looking over at our conversation. He was channeling Linda's condescending energy perfectly, and he was just getting started. "Dad, you're completely stuck in the past like always," he said with escalating volume. "Derek understands what young people actually need in the modern world. You want to keep me trapped in your little bubble, working on old cars and shopping at Target like we're poverty level." He kept going, his voice rising with each sentence. "You act like fixing up some rusty old car is this amazing gift, but everybody at college thinks classic cars are just for old guys who can't afford new ones and live in the past. Derek gets that image matters in today's society. That perception is reality in the modern world we live in." The privilege was absolutely staggering. Here was my kid sitting in a restaurant that cost more than most families spend on groceries in a month, wearing clothes I had bought for him, criticizing me for not spending enough money on him. But he wasn't finished destroying our relationship yet. "At least Mom found someone who isn't a complete failure at life," he said with this smirk on his face, thinking he'd just delivered a badass mic drop moment. Dead silence fell over our table and the ones around us. The server appeared at exactly the wrong moment, asking if we wanted more drinks or dessert. I signaled for the check instead, paid in cash, and left a 30% tip because the server didn't deserve to be caught in our family drama. I told Tyler we were leaving immediately. The drive home was silent except for engine noise, and Tyler shifting uncomfortably in his seat, like he was finally realizing he'd crossed an uncrossable line. When we got to my house, I told him to pack his stuff. He was going back to his mother's early. "Dad, come on, I didn't mean it like that," he started to backpedal. "Tyler, you called me a failure in public after I took you to a $250 dinner, while I pay for your phone, clothes, insurance, and everything else you need. Clearly, you don't need anything from a failure like me." I drove Tyler straight to Linda's house. When she asked why he was back early, I explained exactly what had happened at dinner. Linda tried brushing it off as normal teenage drama, but I shut that down immediately. "Linda, your son publicly disrespected me while I was treating him to dinner. If that's the behavior you're encouraging, he can stay there until he learns basic manners." Her response was pure venom and hatred. Maybe Tyler's tired of pretending his father is something he's not. Children see through fake success eventually. The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. Monday morning, I made a series of phone calls that would teach Tyler exactly what having a supportive father actually meant. First, I called AT&T and suspended Tyler's line on my family plan. The kid had been racking up 173 monthly bills, downloading games and streaming videos constantly. Second call went to Tyler's college, where I removed myself as emergency contact and authorized pickup person. Third, I contacted the bank where I handle my finances and canceled his emergency Visa card that he'd been using for daily Starbucks runs and DoorDash orders. Fourth call went to my insurance agent, where I removed Tyler from my auto policy completely. If Derek wanted to play daddy, he could handle the $350 monthly premium for insuring a teenage driver with a clean record. I wasn't cutting necessities or being cruel to my son. Tyler had food, shelter, and transportation at his mother's house. But all the extras that came from having a father were gone. Tyler's phone died by noon on Monday, and Linda called that evening absolutely losing her mind. "What did you do to Tyler's phone? He's having a complete meltdown over there," she demanded. I explained calmly that Tyler had made it crystal clear he doesn't respect or need me, so I removed myself from his support system entirely. If Derek was such an amazing provider like they claimed, he could prove it with his wallet instead of just his mouth. "You can't abandon your son over one argument," Linda screamed. "I'm not abandoning anyone, Linda," I replied. "Tyler's got whatever he needs at your place. He just doesn't get perks from having a father he openly disrespects." Tuesday brought panicked calls throughout the day. Tyler's credit card got declined when he tried buying lunch, so he had to eat cafeteria food instead of the 18th sandwich shop he was used to. His phone was dead, so he couldn't call Uber when hockey practice ran late and had to catch the bus like a regular human being. Wednesday brought the call I'd been waiting for. Linda called with Derek on speaker, and this was going to be entertaining as hell. Derek's voice came through cocky as always. "Listen, man, Tyler doesn't need a father like you anyway. Kid needs someone who can actually provide and show him real success." "Is that right, Derek?" I asked, genuinely curious to hear his master plan. Damn straight, he replied with absolute confidence. I've already ordered Tyler an iPhone 15 Pro Max and got him on my plan. Kid's getting an allowance that's probably more than you spend on groceries. Tyler doesn't need your little power trip games. Linda was practically purring in the background. Derek's right about this. Tyler deserves better than your petty manipulation tactics. I told Derek he was welcome to be Tyler's sugar daddy if it made him feel important about himself. Let's see how long your crypto gains hold up when you're actually spending real money instead of just talking about it. Money's not an issue for me, buddy, unlike some people who live paycheck to paycheck, Derek shot back. We'll see about that, Derek, I said, before hanging up. But before Derek's money ran out, Tyler was about to get a taste of what being broke actually looked like. Week 1 without my support hit Tyler differently than anyone expected. First reality check came Thursday when Tyler's friend Jake offered to drive everyone to this party. Tyler couldn't pitch in for gas because his card was dead, and he had exactly $4 in cash on him. Jake made jokes about Tyler's broke phase in front of their whole friend group, and Tyler had to sit there and take it like a chump. Friday was even worse for him. Hockey practice ended late, and Tyler had no ride home. He tried borrowing phones to call Derek or Linda, but Derek was supposedly in meetings, and Linda was stuck at work. Tyler waited 2 hours for the late bus, sitting alone on the college steps like some freshman nobody. His teammates saw him there when their parents picked them up, which had to be humiliating for someone who'd been bragging about his stepfather's success. The weekend brought more humiliation for the spoiled brat. Tyler's crew wanted to hit the mall Saturday, but he couldn't even afford food court lunch. He had to watch his friends spend money while he nursed a single pretzel for 3 hours. When they went to GameStop, Tyler had to admit he couldn't buy the new NBA 2K that everyone was getting. The kid was learning that actions have consequences, and some bridges burn fast when you disrespect the person paying for everything. The next month, Derek went full showboat mode to prove his point. Tyler got that iPhone, designer clothes, and daily Tesla rides to college. Derek posted Instagram stories of expensive restaurants with captions like, "Real men step up when other ones fail," and teaching young men about actual success in business. Tyler stopped contacting me completely after that. Linda was posting pictures of her boys at sporting events, shopping trips, and weekend getaways to expensive places. She was announcing to the world that she'd successfully replaced me as Tyler's father, figure, and role model. 3 weeks in, Derek made a show of taking Tyler suit shopping. He posted pictures at Men's Warehouse, Tyler in a $500 suit with a caption about investing in a young man's future. The comments were a pure cringe fest, with Linda's friends praising Derek for stepping up where I had apparently failed. But cracks started showing around week 4. Tyler's Instagram still showed expensive meals and Tesla rides, but Derek's posts about their adventures suddenly dropped off completely. Linda's social media went quieter too. Rick caught wind of this through his network of gearheads. Turns out one of his buddies works at the Tesla dealership where Derek leased his Model X. According to insider information, Derek had been making minimum payments and was already behind by 3 months. "Your boy's sugar daddy is leveraged up to his eyeballs," Rick reported during one of our evening garage sessions. "Guys living on credit and crypto gains that don't exist. When reality hits, it's going to be absolutely epic." Then Tyler called me one evening using Linda's phone. His voice sounded different, less cocky, more confused than before. "Hey, Dad, can I ask you something? Derek's been acting weird lately. He paid for all this stuff the first few weeks, but now when Mom asks him to cover things, he gets irritated and snappy." "What kind of things exactly?" I asked, genuinely curious about Derek's financial reality. "Like, my car insurance payment was due, and Mom asked Derek to handle it since he said money wasn't an issue. But he went off about expensive teenage drivers, and maybe I should ride the bus more often," Tyler explained, sounding genuinely confused by Derek's sudden change in attitude. "What else has he said?" I pressed. "He used to drive me to college every morning, but now says it's out of his way and I should catch rides. When Mom suggested another shopping trip, Derek said I had enough clothes already." Tyler was starting to piece together that Derek's sugar daddy routine was getting expensive, and his crypto portfolio wasn't covering the bills like he'd claimed. The lifestyle Derek had been fronting was completely unsustainable when faced with actual parenting expenses. "Tyler, how much money do you think Derek's actually spent on you this month?" I asked. The kid went quiet, probably doing math in his head. "Maybe like $2,500 total? The phone, clothes, dinners, that suit." Then he added, "And he's been bragging about being successful enough to handle all my expenses." Yeah, but lately he keeps talking about market volatility and liquidity issues when Mom brings up money stuff, Tyler continued. Dad, I heard Derek on the phone yesterday about his car payment. It sounded like he was asking for an extension or something. Shocker, right, Tyler? I said. Hey, I know you're still mad at me, but... Shut up, Tyler. Okay, Dad. Derek was learning the hard way that being a father figure involves consistent expenses, not just occasional grand gestures for social media. The Instagram lifestyle was expensive when you actually had to pay for it instead of just posing for pictures. Tyler also told me he'd heard his mom and Derek arguing the day before about budgeting, and Derek had said stuff about unexpected expenses he didn't plan for. Around the same time Derek's money started drying up, Linda faced her own reality check. She'd been telling everyone at her office about her successful husband, showing off expensive gifts and vacation photos like some corporate influencer. Things went sideways when Linda's supervisor pulled her aside about a promotion opportunity. There was a big client who needed someone to manage their portfolio, and Linda had been talking up Derek's financial expertise for months. Since your husband's so successful in investments, maybe he could consult on the Henderson project. The client's looking for fresh perspectives on crypto integration, her supervisor suggested. Linda froze completely. She'd painted Derek as this financial guru, but couldn't risk her boss discovering he was actually broke. She had to make excuses about Derek being too busy with current commitments to take on new clients. Word spread fast in Linda's office. People started asking why Derek wouldn't help with such a lucrative opportunity if he was really the expert Linda claimed. Linda's carefully constructed image began crumbling when she couldn't produce her supposed crypto expert for actual work. 6 weeks into this drama, Tyler showed up at the garage unannounced on a Saturday. I was balancing the books in the office while Rick worked under the hood of a '74 Chevelle. Tyler looked stressed and tired. Dad, things are getting really weird. Derek's acting totally different and Mom's frustrated with him. How does that concern me, kid? I replied. Dad, please listen, Tyler said. Rick slid out from under the hood, wiping his hands. Let me guess. Crypto Prince is running out of fake money? Tyler looked embarrassed. How did you know? Different how? I asked Tyler. Remember how he was buying me stuff and taking me places constantly? Now when Mom asks him to pay for anything, he gets snippy and defensive. Yesterday she asked him to cover my dentist appointment, and he went off about expensive dental work. Rick snorted from under the Chevelle. Told you Instagram ain't a resume, kid. Guy was all flash, no cash from day one. Also, Derek's Tesla actually got repossessed last week, Tyler continued. He told Mom it was temporary financial restructuring, but I saw repo guys take it at 6 a.m. Now he's driving this beat-up Honda that belongs to his roommate. Rick nodded like he'd expected exactly this outcome. Tesla went back to Elon's toy chest. Guess reality's electric, too. Then he looked up from the Chevelle. So let me get this straight. Mr. Success lost his car and can't afford to keep spoiling you anymore? Tyler nodded, looking genuinely embarrassed. The kid was finally seeing Derek for what he really was. A broke poser who'd been living beyond his means to impress people. Kid, your dad saw through this clown from day one. Maybe next time listen to people who actually know what they're talking about, Rick observed. Derek's whole lifestyle had been performance art. Now that he'd committed to supporting Tyler financially, the cracks were showing everywhere. The expensive dinners stopped completely, the shopping trips ended, and Derek started making excuses about why Tyler couldn't come around certain days. But here's the really messed up part, Tyler continued, his voice dropping like he was making sure Linda couldn't hear. Last night, Derek and Mom had this huge fight, and Derek said stuff that really bothered me. What kind of stuff exactly? I asked. Mom was asking Derek to help with my car insurance again, and he lost it completely. Started yelling about how he's not responsible for someone else's brat, and Mom needs to figure out her own financial problems. He said he never signed up to be a father to some other guy's kid, and spending money on me was throwing good money after bad because I'd probably end up a failure like you. Rick straightened up and threw his wrench down hard. That piece of garbage said what now? My blood was boiling, but I kept calm. And what do you think about all this? Honestly, I feel like an idiot, Tyler admitted. Derek was never trying to be my stepdad. He was just trying to prove he was better than you. Now that it's costing real money, he doesn't want anything to do with me. He continued. Mom's been crying a lot lately. She keeps apologizing about Derek, saying she didn't know he was like this. Rick grabbed a beer from the garage fridge and popped it open. Kid, your mom chose flash over substance. Happens all the time with people. What do you want, Tyler? I asked. There was a long pause while he thought about it. I want to come home. Like, actually home to stay. I'm tired of being caught in Mom and Derek's drama, and I miss working on the Camaro with you." Rick smiled for the first time all day. "About damn time, kid." It was the first time Tyler had called my house home since the divorce. The kid was finally ready to admit he'd made a mistake choosing sides based on who spent more money on him. "I also owe you a huge apology," Tyler continued. "I know I said awful things at that restaurant, and I've been thinking about it every day since. You've always been there for me, and I acted like a spoiled brat because Mom and Derek were filling my head with garbage. I told him he could come over that weekend and we'd talk properly. But before that happened, Tyler proved he was ready to change in a way that actually meant something. Tuesday night, he called me from college. The kid had stayed after for hockey practice, and Derek was supposed to pick him up. 2 hours late, with no response to texts or calls, Tyler was stranded again, just like before. "Dad, I know things are weird between us, but could you maybe give me a ride?" I tried calling Mom, but she's not answering either. I found him sitting on the college steps in the same spot where he'd waited for the bus weeks earlier. But this time was different. The kid looked genuinely grateful when I pulled up. On the drive to Linda's house, he tried to start a conversation. "You know what's crazy? Those guys were making fun of me for getting picked up by my dad instead of getting the Tesla treatment like before. But I realized something today." "What's that, Tyler?" I asked. "You dropped everything to come get me when I called. Derek would have made excuses and left me sitting there all night." The kid was finally understanding the difference between real support and performative gestures. We were almost to Linda's when Tyler asked if he could visit the garage Saturday. "Not to ask for anything or make excuses, just to work on the Camaro if you'll let me." Saturday morning, he showed up in work clothes instead of designer gear. The kid spent 5 hours helping me rebuild the transmission, getting his hands dirty like old times. He didn't complain once about missing whatever social event his friends were hitting. Around lunch, his phone buzzed with texts from his crew asking where he was and what he was doing. Tyler glanced at the messages and turned the phone face down. "You don't need to skip hanging with friends for this," I told him. "Dad, I've been chasing fake friends while ignoring real family. These guys only wanted to hang when I had money to spend. You and Uncle Rick are here whether I deserve it or not." Rick looked up from the engine bay, wiping grease off a socket wrench. Kids finally learning something. Better late than never, I suppose. That afternoon, something happened that showed Tyler was really changing. His friend Jake called asking if Tyler wanted to hit the mall. Jake said his older brother could drive if Tyler pitched in for gas money. "Can't today, man. Working on a project with my dad," Tyler replied. Jake started giving Tyler grief about wasting weekends in a greasy garage when he could be doing normal stuff like everyone else. Tyler's response surprised the hell out of me. "Jake, have you ever built anything with your hands? Like actually creating something instead of just buying it? Dude, that's what stores are for." "Why would I build something when I can just get it delivered?" Jake responded. "Because when you build it yourself, you understand how it works. My dad's teaching me skills that'll matter when your dad's credit cards get maxed out." The kid hung up and went back to work like nothing happened. But I heard him defend not just the garage, but the lessons I'd tried teaching him his whole life. When Tyler showed up the following weekend, he looked different. More mature, less entitled than before. We worked on the Camaro for hours, and it was like old times. "Derek's basically moved out completely," Tyler told me while we worked. "He's staying at his roommate's place most nights. Only comes around to get his stuff. Mom keeps calling trying to work things out, but he's done with both of us." "How's your mom handling it?" I asked. "Not great at all. She's embarrassed because all her friends saw her bragging about Derek on social media, and now everyone knows he dumped her when money got tight. She's been asking about me moving back with you, but I think she's too proud to admit she screwed up. Her Facebook still says crypto strategist's wife. That's gotta sting every time she opens her laptop." Tyler spent the whole weekend at my house. By Sunday night, neither of us wanted him to leave. "Dad, would it be weird if I wanted to live here full-time? Not just visits, but actually move back permanently?" I told him it wouldn't be weird at all. It would be the best thing that happened to me in years. 4 months later, Tyler's living with me full-time, and it's like having my actual son back. The custody arrangement is officially changed through the courts. Tyler requested it through the college counselor, and Linda didn't contest it at all. Hard to argue when your kid wants to live with the parent who gives a damn. Tyler drives the Camaro to college daily and treats it like the treasure it is. He gets more compliments than his friends with their hand-me-down Priuses. Tyler learned the difference between earning respect and demanding it. He works part-time at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pays his own gas and insurance, and never asks for money without offering to work for it first. Rick treats him like the nephew he is. Tough love mixed with genuine pride. Tyler's back to wearing work clothes instead of designer gear, getting his hands dirty, rebuilding carburetors and cleaning parts. Kid finally pulled his head out of Derek's rear bumper, Rick announced when Tyler started showing up regularly again. Took him long enough to figure it out. We finished the Camaro's engine rebuild together. The 427 big block with a mild cam, Edelbrock intake, and Holley double pumper makes about 450 horsepower to the wheels. Tyler did most of the assembly work himself, torquing rod bolts to spec and setting ring gaps by hand. The kid remembered everything I taught him before Derek poisoned his mind against practical skills. Tyler also started a YouTube channel about classic car restoration that's really taking off. Rick appears in some videos, usually making fun of modern cars, while Tyler explains engine rebuilds and technical details. Their chemistry is absolutely perfect for entertaining content. "Uncle Rick, what do you think about electric vehicles?" Tyler asked during one video. "I think they're great for people who don't understand real horsepower," Rick deadpanned into the camera. "Also, perfect for guys who lease Teslas to impress teenagers." Tyler's subscriber count jumped after that video. The comment section was full of gearheads praising Rick's honesty and Tyler's technical knowledge and teaching ability. The kids built a following of car enthusiasts who appreciate authentic content over manufactured flash. Linda's now working 2 jobs to cover the rent that Derek left her with. It turns out Crypto Prince had been using her credit cards to maintain his lifestyle, running up $18,000 in debt before disappearing completely. She discovered this when Derek's roommate called looking for unpaid rent. Apparently, Derek had been subletting a room and lying about having his own place the entire time. The credit card debt was just the beginning of Linda's financial problems. Derek had convinced her to invest her savings in his cryptocurrency portfolio, promising guaranteed returns and financial freedom. When his fake gains evaporated, so did Linda's emergency fund. She went from thinking she'd married up to being financially ruined in just 7 months. She tried calling me a few weeks ago, her voice completely broken, asking if Tyler might want dinner with her. "He's avoiding me completely. Won't answer texts or calls. Doesn't want to visit at all. I know I screwed up, but he's still my son." I told her that Tyler's old enough to make his own decisions about relationships, and maybe she should focus on understanding why he chose to live with his failure father. She tried reaching out to Tyler directly last month, showing up at his O'Reilly Auto Parts job. Tyler texted me immediately. "Mom showed up at work trying to apologize again. Told her I needed time to think about whether I want her in my life." She started crying in the parking lot in front of customers. I asked him how he felt about that. "Honestly, Dad, I feel bad for her, but I'm also angry. She chose Derek over me and you. She knew he was talking trash about you and she encouraged it. Now that it blew up in her face, she wants forgiveness. The smart kid's got solid judgment. He's not being cruel, just protecting himself from more manipulation." Tyler's new friends love coming over to work on cars. My garage became the neighborhood hangout, with teenagers learning to change oil, replace brake pads, and understand how engines actually work. Tyler's the teacher now, sharing everything I taught him over the years. Rick supervises with his usual commentary. "Half these kids can't even check tire pressure, but they think they're going to be influencers," Rick observed, watching Tyler teach his buddy how to gap spark plugs. "At least your boy's learning real skills that matter." Last week brought the perfect ending to Derek's story. Tyler came home with news that made my entire month. "Dad, Uncle Rick, guess who's working at Subway in the mall food court?" Rick looked up from the transmission he was rebuilding. "Please tell me it's who I think it is." Derek had gone from fake crypto entrepreneur to sandwich artist. Tyler's classmate took a picture and sent it around college. The guy who used to lecture me about success was now asking if people wanted extra pickles. Funniest part was he pretended not to recognize me when I walked by with friends. Just kept his head down making sandwiches like we'd never met. Rick burst out laughing. "From Tesla to turkey subs, that's some quality karma right there." The fall was absolutely spectacular to watch. Derek's crypto investments turned out to be mostly Ponzi schemes and pump and dump scams. When the market crashed, he lost everything he'd borrowed against. The expensive apartment, the designer clothes, all gone when the credit cards maxed out. Derek's social media accounts are completely gone now. His crypto meetup dissolved after members discovered he'd been lying about everything. Linda dumped him when she realized he was broke and working food service. Tyler doesn't think about Derek anymore at all. When people ask about his mom's ex, he says, "Some loser who thought he could buy respect with money he didn't have." The kids moved on completely, focused on building his own future instead of dwelling on past mistakes. Linda's stuck wanting stability now, but still judging men by earning potential instead of character. She learned absolutely nothing from the Derek disaster. She still believes she deserves better than regular working guys who actually have their lives together and solid foundations. Tyler's graduating in 3 months from college. He's been accepted to UC Berkeley for mechanical engineering, paying his own way with money saved from work, YouTube revenue, and a scholarship he earned for a project about electric vehicle conversions. The kid's got a solid plan that doesn't involve anyone else's money. The scholarship project was absolutely brilliant. Tyler designed a conversion kit for classic muscle cars, combining vintage aesthetics with modern electric drivetrains. The judges were impressed by his technical knowledge and business plan. He's already got potential investors interested in licensing his design. "Kid's gonna be a better engineer than both of us," Rick told me last week, watching Tyler explain torque specifications to his YouTube audience. Tyler's got character now, something money can't buy. Most importantly, Tyler and I have a relationship based on mutual respect instead of him tolerating me for financial support. He genuinely wants to spend time with his old man, learn skills, and build things together in the garage. The kid who called me a broke failure now brags about his dad who saw through every fake person from day one and taught him that real success comes from character, not credit cards. And that's living proof that sometimes the best thing you can do as a parent is hold your ground when it matters most, even if it means watching your kid learn hard lessons along the way. As Rick put it perfectly, "Kid went from crypto bro groupie to actual mechanic." Gotta say, that's the best character development I've seen since Derek went from Tesla to please hold the mayo. Tyler's working on his own project car now, a 1970 Dodge Challenger RT he found in a barn. He plans to document the entire restoration on his YouTube channel. The kid's already got sponsors interested in supporting the build. He's learned that real wealth isn't about flashy purchases. It's about building something that lasts and has actual value. Derek occasionally shows up in Tyler's social media feeds, usually tagged in photos at various fast food jobs around town. Last I heard, he was working at a Taco Bell drive-thru, still pretending he doesn't know anyone from his crypto days. Tyler just laughs when he sees these updates, says it's perfect karma for someone who tried to buy his way into our family. The kids developed a solid sense of justice and personal values. Linda sent a Christmas card last year with a note about wanting to rebuild their relationship. Tyler read it, put it in the trash, and went back to working on the Challenger. He's not bitter, just focused on moving forward with people who actually care about him for who he is, not what they can get from him financially or emotionally. That's the kind of man I raised, even if it took a detour through Derek's bullshit to remind him of his real values and priorities.